so lovely to have you with us.
Hi, that's a pleasure. And to you, Presidente, lovely to see you and Karen continuing the amazing work you're doing.
Thanks, Costa, and likewise to you. You are such a wonderful supporter and encourager of all things community gardening. You always have been, and with you on our team, you know, there's nothing we can't achieve. I feel your enthusiasm just, you know, it just comes out of everywhere, and it just fires everyone up. And I love it that you're a part of our wonderful network and our wonderful ambassador for our organisation. So thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, look, it's an absolute treat. I'll just come clean. I'm here in Sydney, where I have been for the last 110 nights, which in my world, 110 nights in one place is pretty extraordinary, as you can imagine.
Yes.
But I'm down here. I'm not far from home. I'm actually. It's a bit surreal, actually. I'm out at a birthday lunch. There was just 10 people, but it's kind of strange to be in a social setting of this caliber where, you know, because for the last 100 nights, I've just been having dinner with this guy. He's all right. You know, I kind of find he's kind of okay to live with, and he's kind of a nice guy. But it's generally been him and me, or me and him. Well, actually, we're one and the same. So it's kind of very different, with the exception of having lunch with the camera crew when we've been filming. Generally speaking, this is the first time I've had lunch with a group of people. Kind of a bit,
surreal.
A bit surreal. But I'm here, as you know, and I know that all of you, I can see Joe's there. We've got people, all of you are coming in from all around the country. I'm here on Gadigal and Bidigal land of the Eora in Sydney, and I acknowledge the elders past and present, and I acknowledge all of the work that each and every one of you are doing in terms of nature and caring for country through all of the work that you're doing in your gardens. And it's not just about the gardens, it's about the representation of country and the representation of our landscapes. And I suppose looking to the year ahead, I think there's a really big opportunity to continue that work of recognition in lots of ways, and open conversations, and continue to develop conversations, some of which might be, you know, not uncomfortable, but just out of the usual. And I think these are good things. I was involved. No worries, Chris. I was involved with the Bankstown Arts Centre yesterday with the launch of an art project about the Cooks River, and Auntie Diane, who was involved with that, she was talking about just that perception of country and the perception of land, and, you know, just where we're coming from, and I think there's big opportunities over the next few years to shift and enable, and I think enabling is really what it's about, and it's enabling that inclusion and that perspective and those yarns and stories, and that perspective and the importance of that involvement of First Nations people in what we do. And it means we have to shift. We can't say to them, well, you come here, because that's kind of just continuing what is that colonial approach to everything. And then we expect this sillyation, you know, which is, it's a bit of it's a silly ation. It's not action. And I think there's a chance for us as an organization, because we don't intimidate, and in a world where you know, truth, over the last couple of years, truth has become a battleground in many ways, and untruth and fake news and all of this has come at a cost. And I think we'll see we have an opportunity. I really do believe that we have an opportunity in what we do in terms of growing and farming and urban farming and community gardening and horticulture and nature and nurseries and nurture and all of these things, and humus and humility and compost and all of that stuff. We have this chance to shift that, to turn it into action, and we already do. So I'm not sort of saying anything new in that sense of the positive things we do, but I think we've got a wonderful opportunity when you look at the fact that so many things have been reset over this particularly last 12 months, but the last 2 years, really, when you think about it. The real disturbances started to kick in when the fires started last month, 2 years ago. So around this time, the fires started up in northern New South Wales, up in around Foster, Port Macquarie, and then they came down south, and then ended up becoming the big Gospers Mountain massive fire, and then they were in the southeast of New South Wales, and of course in the northeast of Victoria and all that. So that's 2 years, right? We've been living 2 years with massive disturbance, fires, then floods, then bang, COVID. And I think the strength in our organisation, that the fact that we have you state representatives, the fact that you're also representatives in gardens, as you said, Naomi, you may be president of the group, but you're of course you're president of the group because you're active in your community and your community garden, which is why you're in it. It's not like you didn't say, oh, I just want to be a president. I don't care what, community garden or tennis club. I'll just be the president. Give me the president, and that's I think that's the thing that keeps us real, because we love what we do and we want to spend time in the garden, and we want to spend time spreading that knowledge and spreading that connection and the information. And I think going forward into the next 2 years, there's a big opportunity to make sure that we keep those new gardeners serviced and engaged, and we bring them with us. We don't see that drop off of like, oh well, it was just because it was those 2 years, the war years, and things were really bad. It's like, no, there's our chance. And we know from the pandemic gardening survey just how deeply significant gardening has been for people during this time, not in no small part to the work of each and every one of you, because when people have looked for that community nurture, well, that's what we do. That's what Community Gardens Australia does. And big congratulations to all of the team, all of you, in rebadging and reshaping not only the name but also the website and everything, and keeping all of those resources that are the legacy, and not just the legacy but the foundation for anyone that you say, yeah, get your group to join us and look at all these resources. We are what we are because of those foundations. And those people, and each and every one of you and us, we've built off that, and we're building into an interesting few years ahead. But I think it's a positive and real opportune period for us as a group to consolidate. We've got the engine room in terms of the website and all of the socials and the structure within the organisation to make sure that we don't burn people out. We've got to make sure that we look after our, and get that horticultural therapy to ensure that no one is left behind. And if someone feels overwhelmed or that they're struggling, that they can approach us. They can approach anyone in the framework and say, hey, can someone come in, or can someone do this? And that way we continue the good work. And I think if I won't go on any much longer, other than to say I think when you look at this week and things like the big backyard bird count and just what those things are doing, I tie this in. I think citizen science and the community side of science and gardening and the very core of what we do, I think that's what people are going to yearn for more and more, because those big organizations, those big political parties, they have lost trust. They've burnt the community in so many ways because of these formulaic ways of trying to just spin. They've allowed spin doctors to basically spin trust out the door. So where are people finding their trust? They're finding it in things like citizen science and community projects like, you know, whether it's Frog ID, that you can trustworthily know that that information is going to the National Museum, or the bird count is going to BirdLife Australia with amazing people like Holly Parsons and Sean Dooley and all of that group, and that we can be part of this network, and that we, I think as a group, that we recognise those personal things that we nurture in ourselves, but also the individuals within the Community Gardens Australia, but then the community side. And when we feed both those elements, then we have the balance of the vehicle, and it will drive forward really nicely. And you know, the big great southern bio blitz that's on, I mean, these are things that can really engender that interest. And iNaturalist, things like that, the more we can talk about the wonders of science, then that science goes back to First Nations science, and then we can bring those stories in based on those truths, based on truths that are not spin, you know. And I think the more that we can position ourselves in a place, well, we already are, but I think don't be shy to talk about this in what we do, that we are a recognized place of trust and safety in the knowledge that you're with people, not of like-minded apparatchiks, no, like-minded in terms of a community group that builds trust and safety and inclusion. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to say. I recognise the wonderful work that you've all done in managing the fact that we haven't been able to go to gardens, or you've had to go to gardens, but only one person at a time, or two people 75 metres apart. You know, there's been new regulations coming in on a daily basis. But, you know, from Joe in Tassie to you up in Darwin, Gnomes, like, you know, we cover the country. Yeah. And I think we have an incredible, we have a really valuable role to play. And I look forward to seeing the value of that compound and really exponentially grow like an algorithm over the years ahead. And when we have it that center, trust and truth and care and nurture and story and connection to the past and bringing that forward, then I think, you know, the next couple of years and with Naomi and Karen and the very ordinarily extraordinary members, you all matter. You all matter, and you're doing a great job. And I really look forward to peddling the reach and the work and the scope of what community gardens means to the Australian community for the next years ahead. So yeah, and I don't underestimate at any second of the day how much it means to me to be, you know, in a role of support and whatever it is, ambassador or whatever. But that means the world. It really does. And you know, here's to the new committee. Here's to all the new representatives, and may you work and grow those truths and that energy to take CGA, you know, to new horizons. I'm in, I'm up.
That's awesome. Thanks, Costa. I love listening to you speak. You you go places that we have conversations about what might get said, and then next thing, wow, I've got this whole wonderland spinning around my head of all these possibilities of amazingness, and it's just mind-boggling. I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm sure everyone here too really appreciates this. We said to our members that they could have a bit of a Q&A session with you. We might take a few questions from the group. If you'd either like to pop your questions in the chat, or if you want to raise your hand, and let's see what we can get out of Costa with the next response. This could be really good. We're going to solve the problems of the world in this meeting, everyone.
Got a bit wound up.
It's great. It's great. Do we have any questions out there from our members for Costa? You can pretty much ask him anything. You will get a response.
What am I having for dinner?
That's it. That's it. Have we got any raised hands? Would anyone like to? I can't see that.
I think there might be. It looks like there might be some people typing. We might have some questions coming up soon. But if anyone wanted to raise their hands and ask the question themselves.
Shut him up.
Oh, so we got you Monday. Community garden. We've got you guys want to come off mute?
Would you like to come off mute and ask your question to Costa?
Hello, welcome.
Hi, Costa.
Hello, you Monday.
Hi, Janet Millington with Sue Godwin.
Oh, Janet.
Yeah.
Hello, Janet. I just saw you Monday Community Garden. I didn't, in the little square, I couldn't really tell who was who. Oh, great to see you.
Hey.
Now I can. Now I know. And they're cool glasses, by the way.
Oh, thank you. My Edna Edbridges.
Funkarama. Look, I mean, I just found these in my car the other day. I don't know how they got there, but they were sort of under the seat. And I thought, oh, they're pretty cool.
Very cool. Very cool. I've got Sue Godwin, who's the president of Monday Community Gardens. We did the permaculture course, we did the design, and now it's laying out under Sue's amazing direction. And
good on you, Sue.
Oh, she's amazing. We're all on track and going hell for leather. So we're having a soft launch on the 27th of November, but after we're going for a few more grants, and once things are done, say in the first half of next year, we hope to have a proper launch. And you did promise 5 years ago that you would,
it's in the diary. It's in the diary.
that you would come to our opening. Any chance of that next year?
No question. Just text me, and the sooner you work out a date, the better, and I'll just put it in the diary.
Oh, thanks, Costa. Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem. That was the easiest question of the day.
Yeah, that was an easy one. Awesome. Oh, that'll be very exciting for you, ladies. Who else have we got with a raised hand? Karen, anyone?
I can't
say hello to that crazy man of yours, Janet.
Have we got a silent audience here? Nobody has a question for Costa.
Oh, Lorna does. Lorna, do you want to ask a question for Costa?
Yeah.
Probably meeting.
I'd like to ask Costa when he's coming back to Vic, but he doesn't have the say in that anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was in Vic twice yesterday. The McLeod Community Garden was celebrating 10 years, and they asked me to bounce in there and talk about pollination. So I was dressed in a bee suit, and I walked everyone around my garden for about 20 minutes and then took questions. So that was fun. And then after that, I hosted the Basque Coast Landscape, Basque Coast Sustainable Living Festival. So I was in Victoria yesterday from the comfort of my home in Sydney. But yeah, as for when I'm physically there again, well, just depends on when they let us contaminated Sydney-siders outside of our state. But you
were very lucky that you were in Sydney, because it was pouring rain down here.
Oh, really?
Got drenched.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we had a bit of a storm. We had a bit of a storm last night, which was, when you wake up. I woke up this morning and I went to Centennial Park because I thought I want to do another bird count. And I'll get up, and I got up early and I went over to Centennial Park to do this bird count, and the ground smelled beautiful. You know, that petrichor, the smell of the earth burping.
Great. Well, we've got a couple more questions, I think, so far. So I think Paul Robinson from Poowong, did you want to ask a question, Paul? I saw your hand go up. You just want to unmute yourself? Or was that not? Were you just brushing away a fly or something?
Yeah, just
I was
get him off.
actually just resting my head on my hands, actually.
Oh,
But it was
okay.
interesting that I've come in a little bit late on this. I'd be interested to see what your experience has been, Costa, around other community gardens in terms of fundraising to actually do the construction of their gardens, because we're a new one down here. Naomi actually helped us design it, and we're pretty well down through the track of getting it, more than halfway through it. But it'd be just interesting to see what other forms of funding you might have come across that gardens might have undertaken, for example.
Yeah, I've seen some plenty of different opportunities. Look, ultimately, it's about finding the great networking that I've seen done is where gardens first look within those people that they have within the group and brainstorm who you actually know. Because a lot of times people don't realize who they are. Well, they know people, but they kind of forget what they do. And this might sound a bit basic, but having a session where you just sit down and everybody starts pooling who they know, and then suddenly you find that, and I've done this with schools, because schools are a massive resource. They're this untapped resource. Like, think about, for every kid, there's two parents, but there's two parents, there's 4 uncles and aunts, there's 6 grandparents, and well, no, not 6 grandparents, 4 grandparents. But there's 4 grandparents. But you know what I mean? There's all these people, and until you actually then turn around and say, well, actually, little Dominic in year 1, his dad has a bobcat, and bang, all of a sudden, there you go. Like we did at my school through one parent who was this big civil contractor. We cleared this whole area of the playground, ripped up asphalt, had bogey trucks coming in because he said, yeah, I'll do it. Right. And I'm not saying, and I said, what am I saying is don't be afraid to look inside who you actually think you know, but then realize you don't know, and tap in, because once you do tap in, I believe in the current climate, people are wanting to do things. They're wanting to exercise some goodwill because they've been curtailed for so long. So yeah, do that. Have a truth brainstorming session on who you know, but down to the next level. Then look at other people that you can bring in that aren't necessarily related to gardening. Think about foodies. Think about growers of not just growers as in gardeners, but you know, other land care, you know, the local land care groups, restaurants and restaurateurs, and chefs particularly, because they want to know their food. They want access to specific food. So think about specific plants that might be appropriate, that you could connect with a restaurant that might want to be able to harvest those things to then build a relationship with them, and then say to them, well, what about if we have a long table lunch and we can sell tickets to a long table lunch with that local restaurant? And so people come, they pay a degustation menu price of $50 for the dinner, and $20 of each ticket goes to the community garden. You get 100 people in, or you do a morning tea, you know. So So there's there's just two little ways that I've seen people
Back
come
again.
up with some great options for fundraising.
Thanks, Costa.
Yeah,
I
thank
mean,
you for that. Yeah.
it's a huge topic, isn't it, fundraising? And hopefully we can do a webinar on that in the future, and webinars.
That would be
even.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a massive one for gardens. So we've got a couple more. You've opened the floodgates, Costa. So there's a question here from Joe, but I'm just gonna read you out a couple of comments, sort of mentions here. Sheba said, we'd love to see Costa back in Brizzy, in Bellarong Community Gardens.
Sheba's
Be
back
back in
on.
Brizzy.
Yeah.
Love
I'll
to have him
speak
walk through
to
the garden.
I'll speak to Stacey and see if she's ever going to let me back in. But with an address of Bondi, I don't think Stacey's going to let me back in the state for not this year, let's say. But let's aim at next year. So if you tee up an event, I'll be there.
There you go. And Simon said, thanks, Costa. Always great to have your warm encouragement. Following the chat between us during the launch of the centenary film of Barrierfield Naturalist Club, Landcare Broken Hill looks forward to one day welcoming you to Broken Hill to view our 46 concurrent projects, seeing the commencement of our Arid Zone Sustainability Hub, with the first lot due to be turned before Christmas. So they'd like to see you down there in Broken Hill. Good stuff.
Oh, that's fantastic. And yeah, one thing I think, and I can chat to you all as a committee, but in my role as junior Landcare ambassador, I would love to, and I've got open rein there to come up with projects, and I think we should come up with an idea that embeds junior Landcare into community gardens. It's been on my mind, and I'll just throw the seed
Talking my
there.
language, Costa.
What's that?
You're talking my language.
Yeah, I think we've got some room to move there, and the National Landcare Conference this year was an absolute cracker. It was online. You can go on and look at some of the talks that took place, and I think I'd love to continue to build that relationship. Particularly, I think a good way to start it up is in that non-intimidating junior Landcare way. Because it brings all the knowledge of all the big Landcare with it anyway. But I think we can do it without too much effort. But yeah, let's maybe have a chat about that sometime.
Definitely, because it would be great to see more young people getting involved in community gardens as well.
And that's
we saw some interesting stats come out of the pandemic gardening survey around young people and their flocking to gardening during the pandemic and so on, which was really interesting.
You might have noticed that on Gardening Australia, we've got a segment at the moment where we're putting out 4 stories with young Kaylee, who's a little 7-year-old girl, and we've done 4 little projects. And like anything, you'll get people going, oh, it's not play school and it's not this and it's not that, and I will stand there and not even defend that. I don't have anything to defend. It's not even. It's a non-negotiable. It's not even a negotiable. It's not even on the table. It's just the way it is. Like, that's what we have to do. And if 10 people have a problem with that, well, they're entitled to that problem. But I'm afraid that's the direction that things are going. And, I get people coming up to me on a daily basis saying that shows the one show they watch as a whole family. And we're going to split hairs over 4 6-minute segments of 24 minutes out of 42 hours of television that we're doing just. And the other thing is, I mean, we thought about it too. All of those projects that adults do anyway, rock markers, container gardens, magical little miniature gardens. People do miniature gardens. Like, that's like bonsai. So yeah, I see that as a little project, because going back as Landcare ambassador again, they just talk to me and say, well, what are some of the projects you want to do? So I've been given this opportunity, and I just think to bring these two together is a burner.
Definitely.
Great. Thanks, Costa.
Thanks,
so
Costa.
we've got a question here from Joe. So Joe, There's
And I
Costa
was just going to say too,
Yep.
there, Karen, I'm very conscious of the fact that Costa's got a few other things on today
Oh, yeah.
and don't want to take up too much of his time. And if we keep
All good.
talking to him, I
all
know
good.
he'll keep replying back.
Should we just finish up with Joe's question then?
I
She put it
thought
in
we
a while
might
ago.
finish up with this question
No
and
worries.
just to, I think maybe just tell people a bit about Costa's book as well, because it's about the book. So-
Well, yeah. So Costa, your book is awesome. What was your favorite chapter to write? So maybe tell us a bit about your book and then say which one was your favorite chapter to write.
Oh, wow. Oh, gee. No, thanks for that indulgence. Look, it's been as anyone of you that know that know that this has been on the agenda for a long time, but there hasn't been a note put on the agenda to do it. I've just talked about it, but then it just got to that point where I think the funniest point was that I got asked to go to a book. What do they call them? Not a book conference.
a book launch, book signing.
launch. No, when you go and it's like all the authors there are talking and
Book festival. The
yeah,
festival.
book festival. And then I was all set and I was going to go, and then they said, "Oh, can you send us your book?" And I said, "I haven't got one." They said, "Oh, well, thank you, but we won't be seeing you." So then I realized, yeah, you can't go to a book festival if you don't have a book. I said, what about forewords? I've written enough forewords that I could compile them into a book. So anyway, no, look, it's been a great process. It's been a great, I do a lot of blogs, I do a lot of writing of posts, I do a lot of bits and pieces, but writing a book is so different because, it goes down on paper and it's fixed. You can't edit it. You can't go in later. There's something age old about it that it's, and when you suddenly get a pallet of them delivered to your front door to sign and you just go, oh God, I hope it's all right or at least not dodgy. No, it's been a great process, working of course with community garden supporter Brenna Quinlan as the illustrator. I spoke to Brenna about 6 years ago and asked her about it. So she's just been waiting. She's since illustrated Nick and Kirsten's book. She's illustrated all these other books and just held space for me, like the champion that she is. So working with her, working with Lisa Reedy and Barbara McClanahan, who was the editor. Lisa was the graphic designer. Like without those people, what's been presented, the feel of it, the illustrations, the flow, the everything. I'm happy above and beyond, and yeah, it's a bit surreal. It's really surreal to see this book from something that was just on a computer screen for so long. And favorite chapter? Wow, that's a good question. Because the chapters grew and grew. I just kept writing stuff because, I started with pollinators and I said, I'll talk about this, and this. Then I'm going, I've got to put spiders, and then I've got to put bats, and then I've got to put moths, and then I've got to this and that. It just grew and grew and grew. And so that chapter on all the pollinators and our backyard buddies sort of thing, that just, and even then I feel like, oh, but I didn't include this. And, and the book was like 70 pages over what it was supposed to be because I just kept writing more. But no, I'm really happy with it. So yeah, that chapter's a cracker. And I suppose the opening chapter where I talk about sustainability, that it begins in the garden, and that being in the garden is actually about understanding where you are, like where do you live? And it's not the suburb, it's not the house or the street name, it's actually the land where you live, and to get people to put their goggles on and actually see, oh, I live on the side of a hill, or I live at the bottom of a hill by a river, or I live on a cliff overlooking the beach, to actually get people to see that and not see, oh, this is a piece of real estate in Sydney. It's not a piece of real estate, it's part of a landscape. So to be able to change that, and it's been amazing that within a week I've had people contacting me saying, oh, you've changed the way I think about where I go. Now I see everywhere I go differently. And, that sort of wobbles me a bit when I read that. I get a bit You know, I mean, we're very fortunate in the work we do, that we share information and can inspire people and but pass on knowledge. You know, each and every one of you, I know you do it, and so to be doing this in this context, because normally it's not my own stuff. I'm normally talking about other people's books, and I'm writing for this and I'm doing that. So it's very different for me. But as you know, it's good to push out of your comfort zone. So yeah, it's quite an experience, and yeah, it's just begun, and you know, we probably won't get many face-to-face things done this year, but you know, whenever, if I come up to Brisbane, we can do stuff, and you know, I'll do face-to-face launches and promotions and things, and look, ultimately everything about the book is just this chance to talk about people like you and Community Gardens Australia and iNaturalist, and you know, the power of pollination. And so the key tenet is that I talk about it from heart, head, hands. I'm writing about this because this is what I love about something. This is the science or the facts that I love about it, and then this is the hands, so that's the head, and then the hands is this is what you can do. So that was kind of how I somehow
structured it.
Yeah. and then got, yeah. So I started with head. It was going to be head, heart, hands, but then I realized, no, it's got to be heart, head, hands, because I mean, anyone can get information and the headspace stuff anywhere, but it's got to be, well, why am I pumped about this? And then that way you draw people in to just my story. I wasn't trying to write another comprehensive garden manual. I mean, you know, you only need to look at how many good ones are out there. I don't need to try and prepare another Annick McFarlane compendium. You know, she's got an amazing book out there. I talk about it all the time. I talk about other people's books all the time. This was about my goggles, which is why I called it Costa's World. And that's another story. I'll tell you about that another time.
No, congratulations on finally launching it as well, Costa. It's a beautiful book.
Thanks,
and we've already been getting some great comments through. As Joe's just said, you've nailed it. It's a beautiful book. Thanks for putting it together for everyone to celebrate ecology. That's pretty much, we're hearing that through our members on a regular basis since it's been launched. So tell us, where can people go to buy it? I think you mentioned to me Booktopia. Where else can they get a hold of your book if they'd like to?
Yeah.
Copy?
Yeah. So if you go on the ABC shop or whatever online, you can get it through Booktopia. All the links are there. There's Booktopia, there's Dimmicks, there's QBD, there's Big W. Yeah, they're the ones.
Excellent.
So,
there you go. People, if you haven't got a copy, that's where you can go for one. So that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. No, all good. Thank you so much for joining us today. I think we'd better let you get back to your birthday party now. You've been very generous with your time once again, and we're all very grateful to have you here to have a conversation, another Costa session. And for anyone who's a member of a community garden that's not currently a member of Community Gardens Australia, if you join up this month, you will be in the running to win a Costa station with your community garden. This is a new word we've come up with. Oscar, I think he's still online. This is all Oscar's creation. And his mind, the Costa station, and we reckon it's going to be in the next Macquarie dictionary, this one. So if you would like to show Costa around your community garden and have a conversation with him, please join our join CGA this month, and you'll be with a chance to win. So, well, I think we might finish up there, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Thank you again, Costa. Thanks to the fantastic committee of CGA and to our other volunteers that I know I've got here, and to all of you wonderful community gardeners out there. Keep doing what you're doing. It's wonderful. Keep inspiring your communities. Keep growing more food. Keep doing these things with the people in your local areas, and inspiring people to come and join you and do more of it. That's what this is all about. Lovely to have you all here.